Alright, so right now what I'm working on is getting these valves lapped. I've already gotten most of them done. I'm probably going to go back through and redo some of them. So this is the type of finish you want on your valve after you lap them. This is what one that hasn't been lapped looks like. And it's pretty typical. You know, it's basically you end up with like kind of a polished finish on there. So then also if the valve seats, same kind of thing, you want the same kind of finish on the seats. The issue I've been running into with this is I think there's a possibility that the head was ground incorrectly. Alright, so when I say it was ground incorrectly, what I'm referring to... Hey, it's a little better. So what I'm saying is I think what happened is normally the head's put into a jig and the valve seats are ground at a particular angle, and then the valves are ground at an angle, the same angle, and then you should have valves that fit into the head perfectly. I think what might have happened is maybe the head wasn't completely flat or something, or like it wasn't in the jig. I don't know. Anyways, the inside radius of like each seat was low. So like when I was grinding these, normally you give them a few zips and you're done. Some of these took like an hour to get flat. Granted, I'm using a fairly fine compound, but still it shouldn't take that long. And the area that they were all low, every single seat was low roughly in the same area. So I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to keep trying to grind away at this. This is the compound I was using before. It's pretty fine. I bought some different stuff that's a two-part, or it's two different ones. You know, so one's a fine for finishing, and then the other's coarse. So I'm hoping it's more coarse than this, so that this will go a little bit quicker. Jesus. It looks about the same, honestly. But we'll see. So, I'll be using a drill to do this. Some people recommend not doing this. So what you do is you'll take the seat, you'll lube the stem, you'll put your compound on the mating surface, put it into the valve guide, and then you attach your drill to the backside of the valve, you know, and then you can just spin it. You don't have to sit there and do it by hand. Normally what you do is you do it by hand, you take your tool, stick your valve on it, stick it in the head, and then you just kind of sit and do this for hours at a time, and that's just not where it's at. You do have to be careful doing it this way because you can damage the valve. You can cut too fast, or you can cut a groove in. So I'm going to go ahead. Which one is that? Or was I? So I did 3, 4, 5, and I started on 6. No, I haven't. So I am on cylinder number 2. So this is where I'm at now. So like I said, what I do, take a little bit of oil. I'll take a rag. This is the valve before being cut. You can see what that looks like. Not great. You also want to really make sure you don't get any of this compound up into the valve guide, because it will destroy the valve guide. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure with my finger as it turns, and I'm kind of pulsing it, letting the valve pop out a little bit, because that'll help redistribute some of the compound. Okay, so like I was saying before, what I'll do is I'll take the valve spring and a seat and a valve spring cap or whatever you want to call it, and I'll clamp the valve into the head, and I can take a light and I can look down inside the port and see if I see any light, and I can see just a small razor sharp like sliver of light. So it's close, not quite there yet. Alright, so now I've moved on to the intake side. It's the exact same thing as before. I'm just going through and verifying that everything is sealed. I'm not seeing any light. That one's good. So when you check this for light, and for air really, but you know, when you're just doing a preliminary check to make sure that it's light tight, you know, make sure it's super clean, because if there's just a single granule of that compound left, you'll see light through the valve. Still light on that one. So this one's going to take some time. Alright, so all the porting, polishing, valve lapping is done. Like I said, I didn't go nuts on the porting really. It's more so just cleaning up the runners, but you can see they're pretty nice and smooth. Get the focus. Yeah, you can see it's pretty smooth down in there. It's not perfect, but you know. Oops, there we go. It's not perfect, but it's also not horrible. It's a lot better than it was. So, like I said, all the valves are lapped. So you can see the oops, nice kind of finish on there. You know, it's dull right now. After it runs, it'll polish itself. You know, the valve seats, but they're nice and even, so that means that they're nice and flat. So basically what I have to do now is clean this up, because there's all types of abrasive compound everywhere. So I got a big old bag of brake cleaner, and I'll probably do it tomorrow because it's pretty late at night right now, but brake cleaner and air line, air gun, just blow it out. I may take it outside and hose it down as well, and then go through it with brake cleaner again. I really want to make sure all that abrasive stuff is out of there. Between the valve lapping compound and the metal shavings from porting and the leftover abrasive dust from these guys. There's a lot of bad stuff in that head right now that will destroy a engine in an instant. So I'm gonna get that cleaned up. Probably tomorrow. Not that it matters to you, because tomorrow means nothing. Other thing I need to do is remove the valve springs out of that head, because I'm going to use them in this head. The valve springs I had in the old head are the Volvo whatever valve springs. They're stiffer than the stock Miata ones, so you can rev a little higher, you can run more boost without worrying about valve float and issues like that. So alright, so right now I'm working on getting the head back together. I've already gotten the head cleaned, did all that fun stuff. Cleaned Got all the valves cleaned. Underside the head's clean. I put like 6 cans of brake cleaner through it and blew it out with airline and all that stuff. So right now what I'm doing is I'm putting the valves back in. I'm going to show you the method I'm using. Using one of these guys. Very, very snazzy little tool. So in order to use this, you put the valves into the head, and you have to put something up under the valves to keep them in place. Then you go ahead, you put your spring in, then you take your seat, and you put your keepers into the seat, or into the cap, or whatever you want to call it. I guess you can call it a cap. Alright, so keepers are in the cap. And you place that into place carefully so that the keepers don't fall out. So, I don't know if you can see that. I might have missed it with where I have the camera, but anyways, that's in there. Take this, you want to make sure you have the tip of this lined up with the center of the keepers. And you need a hammer. Well, if you're using normal valve springs, depending on the head or whatnot, you can do it by hand. You can just push this in there and press down, and it'll lock that into place. These springs are pretty tight, and I do not have enough body mass to push these things down. Even me leaning on them full force, I can't do it. So I'm going to use a hammer. I'm actually going to use a big hammer. Because with a bigger hammer, I don't have to swing as hard. So, like I said, you want to center this up with the keepers, the middle with the keepers. And I think I might have got it. Almost got it. Take another. There we go. There we go. So when you use this method, obviously you want to make sure that there is nothing dangerous up under the head. Like I said, you have to use a rag to keep the valves into place, because otherwise you'll just push them down when you hammer it down. But yeah, it's a hell of a lot quicker than using the valve spring compressor. So I'm just going to continue with that. Actually, let me check this real quick. No light. Looking good. Good to go. So I'm just going to do the exhaust side now. So yeah, very important to make sure that the valves are clean of all that abrasive compound you're using. Make sure that the valve guides are also clean. Douse them with brake cleaner, blow them out, send a cloth through them, make sure they are clean, because the abrasive compound over time will destroy those valve guides. Seriously. God damn it. Alright, so that one fought me. So anyways, I'm just going to continue on until I get them all back in the head, and then we'll move on to the next phase, and I'll see you then. Alright, so next step is to get these buckets back in. You have to put them in this nice little tray. They're labeled 1 through 4, and then which side, 1 and 2, which side they came out of. So, get these guys back in. Just hose them off since they've been sitting out in the open. Probably put a little Simply Lube on there. So yeah, just going to continue on with that, and then we'll check back in when I put the cams back in. Alright, so got all the buckets back in. Make sure you put the buckets back where you got them. I did change valve springs. Hopefully that did not change the clearance. Also, lapping the valves may also change the clearances, because these are solid lifters. So these have little shims in them to be replaced to get the correct clearance. So hopefully I'm still in spec. We'll see here in a second. So you're going to want to try and get this cam in the most neutral position possible. Also make sure your seals are back in where they're supposed to be. Took a picture because I don't remember which direction the caps went. I'm not sure why they're flip-flopped, but that's the way they were when I took it apart, so that's the way it's going to go when I put it back together. Alright, so head is completely back together. I just have to put the intake manifold back on, and I can throw it on the car. But of course, before I throw it on the car, I need to address the block. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the block up and put this thing back on yet again. probably not going to get too much further tonight. Let me turn the fan off. Alright, so I'm probably not going to get too much further tonight. Got a good deal of everything done, you know. It looks like a complete engine again. So yeah, I'm either going to finish this tomorrow or I'll finish it tonight. Either way, I'm going to finish it off camera, just because it's at that point where I just want to get it all done, and filming takes time, and you've seen it before. So test drive the next video.